Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I am your host, Michelle Gibbs, and I am passionate about helping scholarly mamas like you navigate your journeys with purpose so you can achieve your life and academic goals without sacrificing what matters. The reality is that scholarly mama life is multidimensional. We're scholars, yes, but we're also mothers, wives, and so much more with whole lives outside of academia. So how do we successfully navigate all this? Well, first, we need the space to embrace this unique blend. Only then can we begin the important work of becoming purposefully whole. And part of my own purposeful work is to create a space for us as scholarly mamas to grow, to reflect, and to become everything that we were meant to be. So, mama, are you in? Fabulous. Let's begin. These are our journeys of becoming. Hey mamas, welcome back to the podcast. In today's episode, I want to take a moment to reflect on a family forest walk. Now, many of you may or may not know, I love going for family walks. I just absolutely love it. There's something about just being in nature, forgetting about all of the things that are stressing me out, especially my PhD, and just enjoy time in nature with my family. I absolutely love it. So whenever we have the opportunity, we like to go to, various parks and forests and just be outside. And of course, in the UK, we don't always have the perfect weather for that. But when we do, it's definitely the way to go. So on the walk I'm going to reflect on today, we went to Bedgebury, Pineham, and I picked up 5 powerful lessons there about doing a PhD as a mum. So it was a really nice, warm, sunny day, and we arrived at Bedgebury and decided to make a start on our walk. And basically, one of the things that I remember most vividly about that walk was when our middle son fell. He was running on one of the pebbly paths, and before we knew it, he'd lost his grip and fell flat on the ground. His hands and legs were covered in dust and scraped by stones. And there were a few moments of silence until the shock of what happened sunk in and the pain sunk in. And so he fought his way back to his feet and then completely burst into tears. My husband and I went over to him to assess the damage, to check out these cuts, see what happened to him. When we realized that there wasn't any serious injury, thank God, we cleaned him off and gave him a tight hug for reassurance. There were a few scrapes on his leg, I think, and I think there was a small cut in the palm of his hand. It wasn't anything serious. He'd live. So we cleaned it up, and then we decided to make our way back to the car, because by this point, I think we'd been walking for a bit anyway. So as we walked and talked and we reflected on what had happened, it was this short conversation among us that revealed the first lesson about doing a PhD as a mum. So I asked them, boys, sometimes we fall, even when we're having fun, and it really hurts a lot. But do you know the most important thing we can do when we fall? To my surprise, they both said, get back up again and keep going. I was so impressed. I replied, yes. That's it. We can absolutely get back up again. And this revealed the first lesson. Lesson number 1 was that you will rise again, so don't be afraid to fall or fail when doing a PhD as a mum. I was so proud in that moment. Don't get me wrong, they can be quite dramatic sometimes when they hurt themselves, but I was happy to know that their mindset at least was trying to be in the right place. We're still working on that. But one thing was for sure, one minor accident wasn't going to stop us from enjoying this experience to the full. Not on our watch. How many times do we encounter obstacles on this journey as a scholarly mama that make us question ourselves? I can't even count the number of times I've felt like throwing in the towel. I am at the very last stage of doing my PhD. I'm about to submit my thesis at the time of recording this. And I can tell you that on that journey, sometimes, I've had so many hurdles, and sometimes we're so close to accomplishing a task, and then there's so many setbacks and delays and unexpected outcomes. We're forced to reassess our next steps. We have to deal with harsh reality sometimes, difficult feedback, or tough critiques after we've sacrificed so much to produce a piece of work. There are times when we're thrown into the deep end and all we can do is swim to stop ourselves from sinking. Sometimes we have to deal with challenges all at once, meaning that we fail in some areas. But what's important to remember here is that you may fall or fail a few times on this scholarly mama journey, but you can get back up again, dust yourself off, and keep going. Don't be afraid of failure. You can rise again. And this brings me nicely onto lesson number 2. Lesson number 2 is that doing a PhD as a mum is a long, hard journey, but one that will build your resilience. What I didn't mention was that we got completely lost in the woods. We were hot. By the end stretch, we'd finished all of our bottles of water and the thirst was beginning to kick in as it was a hot day out. There was also some tough terrain to navigate and a few steep hills on the trail. Our feet were tired from walking 3.5 hours. Our middle son was having to walk on his little bruised leg after his fall and kept asking, "How much longer? How much longer?" He did really well to hang in there, my little trooper. But we also needed a bathroom break quite desperately, and no matter which path we tried, it felt we were getting deeper and deeper into the woods. Our phone signals were also pretty weak, but I guess there were no surprises there. Never was I so happy to have a site map and our resident map reader, my eldest. He got out the site map and finding our way back suddenly became one big adventure. And this was the second lesson. Doing a PhD is not an easy undertaking. It's a long and hard journey, and one that's even harder when you're raising a family at the same time. But the struggles will reveal your strengths. The rough terrain will build your resilience. You'll realize when the challenges come, the imposter syndrome, the lack of sleep, the ups and downs, the pressures of deadlines that you just about meet, that you are a strong woman capable of doing this and more. Work hard when you need to and take breaks to refresh and reset in between. Spoiler alert for lesson 5. Find joy in the other hats you wear and remind yourself of why you are doing the PhD in the first place. Let the challenges help you to grow. Soon you'll know what works best for you, what will allow you to best navigate this journey. Reflect and write things down if that helps. Share your experience with others. Challenge yourself to do something different. Renew your approach. And when all else fails, turn it into an adventure. We can learn so much from our kids. So that brings me on to lesson number 3. Lesson number 3 was Don't be afraid to chart your own path when doing a PhD as a mum. On our walk, there were so many possible paths that we could have taken to explore the forest. There were several other families on a similar mission to explore the outdoors. Clearly, there were some Bedgebury regulars. I'm pretty sure that they knew the woods like the back of their hands and didn't have to rely on maps to take them where they needed to go. We could have mundanely followed them to find our way back, but that would have taken away the joy of exploration that we saw in the eyes of our boys. They enjoyed climbing the various pieces of apparatus in the pocket parks, especially walking in the water paths, playing in the sand, looking at bugs, and jumping off of the wooden features. They also enjoy getting the maps out and trying to work out which path to take next. As parents, we wanted them to be fearless and free in this outdoor experience, so we let them do just that. We knew it would take us longer to get back doing it this way, but the adventure was absolutely worth it. When you're doing a PhD as a mum, there are times when you've got to divert from the crowd and do things a bit differently from what everyone else is doing. And this is because there's more than one possible path that you can take on this journey. So if the trail before you doesn't align with your goals and your purpose, don't be afraid to take a different route. You can achieve the same outcome. It may not be the popular route, but it may be a necessary one for you. And it's okay to stand out sometimes. Your inspirational impact may be greater than you might even realize. I remember seeing this most magnificent tree, and it just stood out from all of the other trees around it. It was so magnificent. And it reminded me that you don't have to follow the crowd if it doesn't align with what you believe your purpose in life to be. Maybe your purpose is greater than your PhD. Maybe your PhD is only one part of it. Of course, you can still achieve great things. However, when you have children depending on you, you have to ensure that you don't achieve your goals but be left disillusioned and burnt out and, quite frankly, no use to anyone. That's my philosophy, at least. None of what I share in this podcast constitutes advice. I am simply sharing my reflections and my experiences. No one knows your circumstances better than you do, but I believe that you have it within you to create your own healthy norms. Maybe you don't have to constantly run on empty. Maybe you can still be fully present as a mum in the time you have with your significant other and or with your children. Perhaps it's time to stop neglecting yourself and your mental health, trying to keep up with the PhD Joneses. Chart your own path through your PhD. Do what needs to be done for your research, of course. You want to achieve the goals that you've set for yourself, but also do what needs to be done for your well-being. Nothing is more important than that if you want to be able to survive the journey intact, if you want to become purposefully whole. Don't replace those for whom you're not replaceable with those who can replace you. So lesson number 4 was, don't compare your journey to others when doing a PhD as a mum. Do not compare. Our sons looked at the video that I created with our highlights from that particular day at Bedgebury and said this to me. Bedgebury was so much fun, Mummy. We really enjoyed it. And it made me think about how they're going to watch that video in the future and not think about the fall, not think about us getting lost or about the dry, bare sections of the woods, or the ant's nest our son accidentally stepped right into. My photos made the forest look like something out of a magazine. I know, I am no photographer. But truth be told, not every part of that forest walk was pleasant or picturesque. Not every tree was green. There were brown areas too. There were even a few fallen trees and cordoned off areas. But that didn't take away from the overall experience. The boys will still remember the fun adventure that it was. And perhaps that's a good thing, as those things did nothing to dampen the fun that we had and the memories that we created. And, I created an Instagram video which captured our highlights beautifully, but it was just a snapshot. Likewise, no one's PhD journey is perfect. Perfection simply doesn't exist. As we review the video footage from our day out, I chose to share the beautiful highlights of our family walk in the woods. I was selective about how I documented the day's events in photos. We took loads of photos and videos, but I couldn't include all of them. For example, I didn't share photos or footage of the Great Fall, partly because I didn't have any, but even if I did, I wouldn't have shared them. Likewise, remember that the people you compare yourself to don't always showcase or share their struggles. They don't always show you the lows. Accept that what you see may not always be the full story. So don't allow yourself to enter into a negative spiral of comparison over someone's progress or success, or feel that your journey is not as easy as theirs. Everyone has their struggles. Some just hide theirs better than others. So when you're doing a PhD as a mom, it's so easy to compare your journey to others. As a non-traditional student, yours will look naturally different from theirs, and that's okay. Make reasonable adjustments where necessary, taking your family circumstances into account, and then just press on in your own lane. Remember, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So run your own race the best way you can. The final lesson I learned about doing a PhD as a mum from our forest walk was that it's okay to take breaks when needed. Did I mention how tired we felt after walking for 3.5 hours? Or how desperate we were to find our way back to our starting point? We were tired. We were weary. We were exhausted. But when walking through a forest with kids, breaks are inevitable. At that time, our youngest was still breastfeeding exclusively, and we all know that breastfed babies feed often. So we had to find somewhere that I could sit and feed him. Plus, our other 2 boys needed a snack break as well. So thank goodness we'd packed our backpacks full of snacks, and I was so grateful for the many benches scattered around Bedgebury. So when we found one in a nice shaded spot, we sat down and had some fruit and snacks. To be honest, we all needed that opportunity to recharge, the chance to rest our tired legs and recoup some energy. The boys observed the ducks nearby for a while. Everyone felt refreshed. Taking that little break rejuvenated us with the fresh vigor and determination that we needed to see that journey through. The same applies when we're doing a PhD as a mum. There are times when we become utterly exhausted from all the deadlines, to the sleepless nights when our babies are unwell, to the sheer exhaustion that comes from balancing so many responsibilities. But when it gets really tough and you feel it's beginning to impact on your health, know that it's okay to take a break if you must. Only you know what you need. I've had breaks during my PhD, and guess what? The world still kept spinning. A break may be the one thing you need to renew your strength. After that break, you'll probably come back ready and better able to tackle that PhD, which won't seem so insurmountable after all. So those are my 5 powerful lessons that I picked up in the forest about doing a PhD as a mum. So let me recap them here briefly as I close. The first one was, don't be afraid of failure. You can rise again. The second lesson was, the terrain may be rough, but it will build your resilience. The third one was, it's okay to chart your own path. The fourth, don't compare your journey to others. And the fifth lesson was, it's okay to take a break if you need to for your well-being. I am so grateful for these 5 powerful lessons. They're reminders of how much wisdom there is in the everyday experiences that we have if we pay close attention. Our kids teach us so much as well. And so I hope that you found these 5 powerful lessons helpful for your own journey of doing a PhD as a mum or doing another course of study as a mum. Sometimes continuing on this journey is just as hard as starting it, but with the right mindset, we can do it. Have you ever spent time in nature with your family and discovered any valuable or transferable or inspirational gems that I've missed? Let me know. I'd love to hear your experiences. Please do share. Let me know what you think. And until next time, I'm sending you lots and lots of love and gratitude. I hope you enjoyed this episode. See you in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did and you want in on this movement, why not head over to mrsmummyphd.com. You can join the waitlist for our exclusive community of smart, purposeful, scholarly mamas. We'd love to see you on the inside. Remember, mama, these are our journeys of becoming.